welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina. I'm your host, Tina Thompson, and happy May to you. May happens to be one of my favorite months. It's just because it happens to be my birthday. I know some pretty awesome people who have birthdays as well. I know pretty awesome people all the time. You all know that. I have a lot of them on my show. And coming up this show, I have got a fellow who's an ergonomist, and his name's Randy Peters. Please don't go anywhere because he does some pretty awesome things, and we never know where we might find ourselves one day. We may need to have him come into our life to help us, but we're going to find out all about that here in just a couple of minutes. And then best friend, because it is my birthday, Karly Perretta is going to be with me to talk about self-care. With Mother's Day coming up here in just a few days, she's just going to talk about, some of the tips and things, and I will with her, with number one, age, and how we tend to let ourselves go a little bit because sometimes we just don't pay attention. We get caught up into this busy world. But she's going to talk about that. And then I do have my special, of course, always, and it's a little bit of a birthday message to those who are, I feel, important in my life and the gifts that I have, and those are my friends. I'll be back here in just a few. You're watching Down Home with Tina.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a recovering addict. For 10 of the last 11 years, I've been struggling with addiction, homelessness, incarceration, and just loneliness. However, since getting clean this past year, I've accomplished more than I have in those 10 years combined. After attending outpatient counseling services, inpatient counseling services, living in a sober living house, and attending 12-step meetings, I've been able to regain control of my life and begin to achieve goals I've always dreamed of. Addiction can destroy lives in many ways. Whether you need help with childcare or financial assistance, everyone deserves a new beginning. Recovery supports are just that, supports for recovery. My life mattered. Your life matters too.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I have ergonomist Randy Peters. He is a fellow with Job Rehab Professionals, is what it is called. And when I found out what he does, I thought, oh my goodness, it lines up completely and totally with what Down Home with Tina is about. And that is to try to make lives better and happier, making a positive difference in lives of those in our community. What is an ergonomist, Randy, first of all? Because I thought that is very interesting.
Well, an agronomist, Tina, is someone who basically studies work.
Okay.
And I get paid to do that. More specifically, I help people who have disabilities or injury challenges continue to work. I match jobs, their capabilities to what a job demand might be.
Oh, yeah.
And then I help bridge the gap between what a person's abilities are and what the job requirements are, and then I try to find somebody else to pay for it.
Randy, why did you find that there was a need for this? Why do you do this?
I've never been asked that question. I've always been I've always tried to be a service person at heart, care for the needs of others, or at least respect the needs of others.
Yeah.
And I've had over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with a number of individuals from just special needs in general. Work with the Fairfield County Board of
Developmental Disability?
Thank you. I was their customized employment coordinator for a period of time.
Nice.
But prior to that, I just have always I worked in a physical therapy clinic and we took that clinic on the road, working in a number of different kind of manufacturing facilities.
Yeah.
And I found sometimes it was better. Some people could, when they are in rehabilitation, they can only get so much better, but it may or may not match the job specs. So I began to kind of work the whole process backwards, try to make the job specs match the person with the disability.
Wow.
And that allowed a person to work when otherwise they could not.
Right. I see it as like a problem solver in ways that folks never even thought of solving a problem.
Pretty much
Because
is.
it could become a problem. I mean, because
Absolutely.
if somebody can't work, oh my goodness, and they love what they do.
Exactly. In this country, we all identify who we are by most of us by what we do.
Absolutely.
It's the first question we ask. Hi, where are you from? What do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
And so when a person loses that ability to project of what they do and how proud they are of doing what it is that they do, they lose a big piece of themselves.
What are some of the things that you've done for some folks that have just been like, I guess, and it might be several different occasions that it's happened to you where you're just like, yes, this is going to be perfect for them. It's like that aha moment in your brain.
Well, let me give you a couple ideas of what I'm doing right now. I have a number of projects that I'm working on. One in particular that I'm kind of quite proud of. It turned out to be a much more extensive project than I anticipated. I got a call to work with a fellow in Southern Ohio, in the MacArthur area. And a couple of years ago, he was an 18-year-old fellow that totaled his truck. And so he was paralyzed from the waist down. And as it turned out, his family had a business that they installed air conditioning and heat units. And they looked at his situation and said, you know, I want him to have more than just a person, drawing disability benefits certainly at such an age.
Oh, yeah.
So they found a need where they could build ductwork for heating and cooling equipment. Mm-hmm. And there was a need in southeastern Ohio, for that. And they basically they created a pole barn and created probably 500 square foot or more, probably 1,000 square foot of space where they bought machinery to do that kind of thing, hand machinery. And so they put the fella in there with who's wheelchair bound in there to do that kind of work, so that he could contribute for himself and have a livelihood and make more than minimum wage somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And I got called in to try to help with that situation, try to refine things. And the biggest challenge, and the family had already done a great job of trying to create work tables and things that would be the appropriate height for something that would bend a piece of metal or cut a piece of metal or shape it in a certain way. Yeah. But the challenge he had ultimately was that since he was propelled himself with a wheelchair, most of the work that he was doing, his arms were still like this. And for anyone who's an athlete or someone's involved with, most people can keep their arms at their sides pretty easily. But when the arms and the shoulders get up a ways, they might be able to get there, but they can't maintain that elevation for a long period of time without injuring the shoulder. So that became my concern with this particular scenario. And so in his particular case, what we were able to do, in addition to modifying a number of hand controls and the stuff that was a push button, controls that were pneumatic in nature, in addition to that, I was able to convince, it was because it was the best solution for the job. I found a power wheelchair that raises up and down, that actually stands somebody up.
Wow.
And it had an extra wide base, and it actually had like tank tracks on it. So because it was a heavy duty wheelchair scenario that raised him up, we were able to use it also as a way to handle sheet metal. So pull it off, back it up, push it forward, lift it up, turn around, put it on a table, and then we could stand him up to do the different functions within that whole operation.
So he can stand up and then sit down as needed. As
needed in order to perform the different operations, of that. And fortunately for this gentleman, he did not, when he had this accident, he didn't lose. He had a little bit of nerve endings on one side and a little bit of motor control on the other, so that allowed his blood pressure to be like it was when he was able to stand on his own. So he didn't lose that. So that gave us an advantage to be able to use that piece of machinery. Otherwise, I would have been looking at cranes going across the rooftops and individually raising different pieces of machinery up and down in order to meet his work envelope, so to speak. And in his case, it was relatively narrow just because he was sitting. So that one, we're still in the process of doing that. There's a state agency called Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. They chose to endorse that recommendation that I had made, and that was a $20,000 piece of equipment that they're using. Puts in, but that gives him the opportunity to have a livelihood, you know, for, again, he's 18, and this is the third generation HVAC shop. So, you know, there's an opportunity to expand a niche for him. Recently is married, so he's well on his way to being able to support a new family. So that's one of the projects that I'm currently working on right now.
You know, a lot of times in our lives, we talk about wants and needs. And in situations with somebody that finds themselves in a place, this is a want and a need, because
Certainly.
it has to do with purpose.
Certainly.
And I'm like, I've got goosebumps just thinking of the way that you're able to make these folks who go through these challenges, and could be the biggest challenges in their lives, doing something that makes them feel gratified.
Absolutely. Gives them purpose.
Yeah.
Especially in our societies, which we identify what we do
Yeah.
as part of who we are.
Yeah, so it's like probably individual to individual on what the need is, that you sit with them to try to figure out what it is that you can do. What has been one of the most difficult ones that you came up with, that you were, or do they come pretty easy to you in most cases?
Some of them are some creative. One that comes to my mind that I worked on probably 5-7 years ago. I was asked to work with a gentleman who had a great voice, customer service kind of voice kind of thing. And the agency that sponsors me, they wanted to see if he could work at home, doing customer service kinds of things. But he was also pretty good with a computer. And so in his particular case, he was getting nursing care, 24-hour nursing care. His family and people were coming in to take care of him, so he really couldn't leave the home, at least at this point. And like I said, he had a great voice, pretty good with computers as far as working on his own tinkering. So in his particular case, I created a desk that raised up and down, custom desk on hydraulics. Had his computer kind of set in to an area that pulled out, and then put a Lazy Susan on it, so he could access while he's in a power chair, and so he could access all sides of it. And when it was raised up, I mean, the computer was right here at his, you know, mid-chest level, and so the rest of the desk is over his head. So, but he could work on that area of things.
Yeah.
Had another desk, if he had files and whatever, he could access those, because like you and I, we can't just go to a bookshelf and grab something.
Yeah.
His biggest challenge, however, was his feet were cold all the time, because of no circulation. But because his computer had a real heavy exhaust heat thing, I was able to create basically a dryer hose vent and part electrical conduit stuff, and I constructed this thing that went through his desk and basically took the heat off of his computer and threw it on his feet.
Oh my goodness.
So that he could keep his feet warm while he was performing his activity. So that was probably, I mean, just for a little self-gratifying, you know, kinds of things. And a lot of the projects that I work on, there is nothing off the shelf that you can actually do. It's just creating that thing that kind of matched the need.
And Randy, this is for anybody, and this is what I want folks to just today, that they're watching, and keep in mind, we never know what tomorrow will bring, and you may find yourself in a situation that you now end up becoming disabled of somehow, some way, that you can help them to get to where they need to be, to maybe continue the occupation that they do already.
Correct.
Or to get someplace of something that you want to do that you never thought that you could do.
Sure. A lot of times I work with people that are not as significant injuries as this. You know, they may have a back challenge. Currently working on another project right now where we've invented a table. This individual works in they basically make light fixtures like your fluorescent lights, LED lights. And so they rewire them. And so I come up with this idea of basically putting a slant board so that instead of having to bend over to do the wiring, the table comes up, the boards slant up, and now their wiring is right here to where they can do it without hurting their neck, shoulders, and back.
What is your contact information, Randy? For
Phone number is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is 740-503-5885. 740-503-0897. That number again is 740-503-0897. Call, text. Email is rpeters@jobrehab.com.
Ergonomist Randy Peters, and he is Job Rehab Professionals LLC. Blessing to have you on.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So much.
So
This
much
is
appreciated.
awesome stuff. Oh my gosh, folks. Give him a call if you know of anybody that may need his services, and if you ever happen to find yourself that you may need his services. You're watching Down Home with Tina, and don't go anywhere because this is my birthday week. I'll be right back.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And we looked around, and I said, "There's our bank, right there."
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I've got one of my dearest and best friends, Karly Perretta, with me once again. She's been with me before, and it is my birthday week. And when it's my birthday week, it's always that time that I love to thank those folks who are in my life, because I consider them as my gifts. Don't get me wrong, everybody loves gifts and presents and surprises and things like that. But my gifts truly are the people that I have in my life. And so I always want to be with them when it is about that time of year, or the day of. So I just thank you, Karly, for being my friend and always being here and putting up with me, because, I call her the day of the recording and taping here, and I say, "Hey, can you bring flowers?" I'm like, because she's got nothing else to do.
Right, yeah, sure.
But the reason why I wanted to bring flowers is because we are talking about, and this goes along with my birthday too, self-care this week, and value and self-worth and things like that. Karly, I'm going to call her out. I warned her, folks, so she knows this is coming. So the older we get,
yes,
our eyes begin to go. So I could wear contacts years back and be able to put makeup on. Now if I put makeup on with my contacts on, there are certain things that I walk out of the house and I look in the car and I go, "Whoa, jump back, Jack."
Right.
Do you ever, well, I don't know if you have that same problem.
My eyesight, I've always been very proud of my eyesight because it's been perfect my whole life, right up to the point where I turned a little past 50 and all of a sudden it was like, oh, need some readers. And a friend sent me actually a picture of some fabulous Ethiopian coffee, and I completely misread the bag because I didn't have my glasses on, and I thought it said Cooper's Crack Coffee, and it was actually Cast Coffee. So it was like, wow. So that was like a whole text conversation went wrong. It was really funny. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's another lesson. Put the glasses on. And then often I'll forget I have them on, and then I'll put my sunglasses on. Then I realize I'm walking around Walmart and I got 2 pairs of glasses on and the one hanging here, and it's just ridiculous.
And it's
ridiculous.
age. It happens with age.
It's age. It happens,
and
right?
So I'm looking in the mirror the other day without my contacts in, and this is where I'm calling Karly out on this. And if you've not had it, ladies, guys, whatever, you're gonna find a hair that has come out of your face somewhere that does not belong
supposed to be there.
and not be there. But this piece of hair that was on my chin, thank goodness it wasn't black, like really black, because you could see it or anything like that. But it was long. And sometimes I like to think that it was just a fuzzy that got stuck there in your face. Yeah. No, when you've got to pull it out and it's not coming out, and then you've got to find the tweezers to pull it out, to get it out, then you've got things are going on
Work
with age.
needs to be done.
And work needs to be done. And sometimes we neglect to do that. And that's where we wanted to talk about self-care. By the way, I laughed hysterically because I was like, I have recently seen Karly, and she cannot tell me if I was standing in the sun and she's not looking at my profile, she could not see this hair sticking out of my chin.
Yeah, well,
but you know,
you could have used it as a toothpick, but it's
you
kind of
could have used something.
it's an awkward conversation. You're like,
but best friends, that's what they're there for.
I know.
Just
I
reminding
should
you.
have said something.
From here on, no, I'm kidding. You didn't see it. I know that. But it is. It goes with age, and that's the same thing I think as moms. Mother's Day is coming up this weekend, and that whole self-care, and that's why the flowers are for it. That's one of the things that we need to do. So what do you want to share about self-care and value?
I think self-care is super important, and I think it's something that we don't get into habits of doing it because I think we think we're just so crazy busy, and it always seems to be like you always think, oh, it's got to be elaborate, it's got to be the hot bath, but you've got 4 kids banging on the door and you're just trying to have a bath. You don't necessarily, maybe you don't want to spend $200 to go to the spa.
Right.
There's all these things. Those are kind of some of the obvious things, but there's a lot of little things that you can do self-care wise just to get your mindset in a positive state of mind, having positive affirmations, taking a walk, heck, go crazy, take your shoes off and, put your feet in the grass. We're starting to get beautiful weather out. Just really notice the beautiful details, look around, and self-care is not just about the extravagant. Sometimes it's just the simple things. Smell some flowers.
Take a moment and just breathe.
Breathe. Yeah. It's the simplicity of just remembering to breathe and stay in your moment. So many times we are so consumed, but I call it the gerbil wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You get on, you're cruising, you're taking kids to practice and you're running here, you're running there, you got the groceries, you got all these day-to-day things that we do, plus working or whatever else we're doing. And it just seems like one day bleeds into the next.
Yep.
And we just sometimes forget, wow, if we would just remember to slow down, take a deep breath, rejuvenate, we're going to be better mothers, better friends, better wives,
Absolutely.
Better girlfriends. You know what I mean? You just have to know that it's important to invest in yourself. For as much as we pour out into the world, it's a great reminder to say, you know what, I'm worth it too. I'm worth that time.
Absolutely.
So
it's just taking those times to recognize oneself.
Exactly.
And your own value.
Absolutely. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some people are like, oh, it feels so selfish to, but it's really not. This is about having positive mental health. This is a physical health. And, there's a few things, have a cup of hot tea. There are some really great adaptogens that you can take that help you.
And I do. I remember when I first got pregnant, you have the baby shower. Everybody's like, when the baby naps, you nap. Yeah, okay. You think, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then you have the baby and you don't nap when you have nap. If the dishes aren't done, if the floor's not swept, it will get done. Maybe not this year and next year. No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it will get done. You need to remember to rest for yourself. And the same goes if you're a mother now of 5, if your kids are in bed at 8:30 at night, go to bed, read a book. If you haven't read a book for years, whatever that is that's not done in the kitchen, it will be there in the morning. You will fit it in and you will get it done. Just take time.
And remember,
would you not? I mean, I think it just needs to be reminded. You need to remind yourself.
I think so, and I think sometimes too we want to stay in control of everything, and I think we need to remember that we can delegate specific things.
Amen.
Because that just frees up space. Constantly, just focus on creating space for yourself. Because you do end up having more joy. You're going to enjoy the moments more. We're not so and not to mention, when our stress level's high, we have. The cortisol's driven high up in our bodies. We're tearing up our bodies and our minds.
And so if you happen to be a single mom and you know that you've got younger kids, and I say younger kids, let's say even from 5 to 15 or 16, and they more than likely may not be able to get you flowers or, buy something for you. Maybe they'll make something for you, but here's something even better. You can say, hey, you know what I would like for Mother's Day? Make up little cards for yourself and put on it what you would like for them to do for you that's a little extra. Like, this is what I want. Weed the garden for me. Or will you vacuum the floor? And you don't have to use them all on Mother's Day.
No,
Just tell them these are cards that I would like to just give you for you to help me to give back to me at a time that I may need it.
Yeah. I think too, like teaching ourselves and, you know, the people around us to be observant of the other person's feelings, you know.
Yes.
You know, I think we have eased into this like kind of self-absorbed world a little bit. People have tried to like, oh, you know, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you hardly get a courtesy wave anymore when you let somebody out, you know.
Well, and you said delegate earlier, Karla, and I love that as well because, okay, so maybe hubby or boyfriend, fiance may not sweep or vacuum or do the dishes the way you like. It's okay.
Just be happy
let
with
them
it.
do it. That's exactly
I know.
right.
My husband.
Don't try
my
to
husband
be over controlling on that.
He's so sweet. He'll do the dishes for me, but he's like so concerned about where stuff goes. He'll just pile it all up on the stove, and it used to like really irritate me. And I'm like, you know what? That's ridiculous. Say thank you for just doing all that. Yeah. I don't have to do it.
Yeah. I didn't have to. Because you want to be able to find it,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
and put it somewhere where you don't know.
And so it works out really well. I don't have to get my, you know, it's like kind of saves you from getting dirty hands, and you get to put everything away right where you like it.
And I love that Karla just said that because, folks, I would like for you to stay
Grateful.
with us. And Father's Day is coming up. So when Father's Day, you're going to come back and want to talk about self-care for guys and what we can do for the dads.
I think it often gets overlooked. You know, men are,
right.
You know, people seem to think, oh, that's weakness, but it's not. They do so much. And they work so hard, and there's a lot of great things that they can do. So I'm excited to share some of those tips too.
I'm really excited too. We just didn't have time for today because of, you know,
self-care
and ourselves and ladies and women and guys. Doesn't mean that you can't do something for the guys. Get them flowers as well if you want, or guys. But that's for another time. Karla, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Folks, don't go anywhere. She's not a folks. She's my best friend. Don't go anywhere. I will be back. You're watching Down Here with Tina.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. Down Home with Tina is brought to you by the amazing sponsors that you just saw. It's because of them I get to come on each week and share like great stories like Randy Peters does and talk about self-care with Karly Perretta. And you can watch Down Home with Tina on Facebook, Down Home with Tina. Also, you can go to CLN 1021 on Spectrum, and also CLN Your Hometown Connection. That is a YouTube channel. You can also share those social medias with anybody and everybody that you would like if you would like to spread the positivity that Down Home with Tina likes to give and bring about from those folks in our community. Also, my birthday is this week, and I love my birthday because I love to, some people get to a certain age that they're like, this is not cool. They don't want to celebrate their birthday. As long as I live, I'm going to be happy because it's the day that you were given as a gift to people. And so on my birthday, though I am the gift, I feel you are my gift. You, people in my life, you're my gift. So I have a message I wanted to share with you, and I got to read it because I didn't want to mess it up or anything. So I just want to say thank you to the rare few individuals who have listened without judgment, spoken without prejudice, helped me without entitlement, understood without pretension, and loved me without conditions. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you all have a great week. God bless. Good day. See ya.